So I'm going to talk to you guys about wiring up your dome light in your Volkswagen Bug and basically kind of how the circuit works, um, and so that you can figure this out. Most of the time, your issue is going to be a ground problem. So the tools you need are one of these really nice, they're not bad actually, these Harbor Freight Tools test lights. And this is what you're going to test every circuit on your Volkswagen Bug with. A lot of guys use a power probe, stuff like that. The thing that's good about a test light versus a voltmeter, a voltmeter is going to tell you whether you have volts, but it's not going to tell you if you have enough amps to actually run a light bulb. So if you have a bad connection, you'll show volts, but you won't show, you'll connect up a test light and the test light won't light up. So you got to go back to the grassroots, get yourself a test light and start out with that. So the first thing you want to do when you're doing your dome light is find a good ground for your ground connector. And I found one really good one. It's actually here on this car, is the mirror. So I tested this already. So you want to hook up your ground. You want to test your test light on your fuses by connecting this to the fuses and make sure that it lights up. And then, but I've already checked mine, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to test this right here, and I have 6 volts to the red wire. So you have a red wire and you have a gray wire. The red wire goes to the side with no switch. The gray wire goes to the side with the switch, because how the circuit works is the red wire is always hot, and this side here is a switched ground. So 90% of your problem is going to be the connection between, let me see if I can get a little more light on this. The connection between, oh yeah, these LEDs don't work very good, between that connector right there and the switch, this little prong right here, this little prong. That's 99% of the time your problem. So you need to sand all that. So I'm gonna want to take this thing off. I'm gonna sand those connections really good and make sure that they're just really good connections. And you can generally, like I said, like right now, what I do is if I test, and the other thing you could use too is another good thing to have when you're doing testing on your wiring is also to have a alligator clip on 2 ends of a wire, and you're going to use that to do a temporary ground, so you know where it's grounded. So if I ground this right here, then this light should light up. Okay, and what I was trying to do is, because this is a 12-volt bulb in here and this is a 6-volt bulb, I've already tested it. A lot of times when you light, like when I put this on here, the 12-volt bulb will have a little more resistance and I'll get a light glow out of the 6-volt, but it's not happening right now. But I know that it works because I've tested on both sides of here and I'm getting a light. If you see here, I'm testing on one side, I get a light, brighter light. I check over here and it's a little dimmer. Okay, and that means that the bulb inside is connecting. So, but for some reason the bulb isn't lighting up. I mean, it could be a bad bulb, but I don't think it is. It's more than likely a connection issue. So this wire here, the gray wire, goes to ground. Goes to actually to these 2 switches. So it goes down the column here, it comes down and it goes to this switch, and then, which these are the old screw end ones, or they're spring loaded, one of the two. And then it goes from here to across the dash, and it goes over to the other side to the other switch. Let's see if it works. Nope, that one's still not working. So What you're going to want to check if you have this problem, again, is take your little test wire where you have the 2 alligator clips on either end of it, connect it to here, and connect it to ground, a good ground, and check to see if your light lights up. Most of the problems are going to be the connections between this wire or this block and this little connector here and this thing here. Those all have to connect up to make the ground circuit. And then your other problem is going to be by sanding where this thing, on this year, there's no screw. Like on the later models, they had a little screw that held them in, and the little screw would have a better ground than these ones. So a lot of times, back in the old days, I remember I used to have to wiggle my switches. That was how I checked my dome light. I had to always wiggle a little bit. So if you sand this connection here and sand inside here where they connect together, then that will help you get a circuit, and then test it again with the test light. So test with your test light, test with using a temporary ground that has 2 alligator connectors on it, and just like I said, when you're doing your wiring on your VW, you do one circuit until that circuit works, and you make the dome light work or whatever. Then you work on the horn or whatever, and you work on the horn. You just don't focus on anything else. Don't try to do any other circuits. Just work on one circuit until the horn works, and then you go to the next thing, the turn signal. You make sure you test every wire. You test it into the end of it with the test light. Test it what's coming out of the turn signal switch with the test light. Test it. Test your I always just replace. I put electronic turn signal relays in. I get those off of eBay. The electronic ones are better for 12 volts. If you're using 6 volt, you're pretty limited on what you can use. I'm using the LED one for motorcycles because it's the only one available and makes a little beeping sound, which is kind of irritating. But, those are the type of things you just go through each part of your circuit and just eliminate things. Just, one thing at a time, eliminate ground issues, eliminate until you finally get it all. It's very time consuming. It takes time, but it's really not that hard to do. Remember, a positive goes through one side and the other side's ground, right? I mean, it's not that hard. So, and it goes through whatever it is you're trying to run, a light bulb or whatever. So if this side's got positive and it's not lighting up, you got power, and this side's, then that your ground is usually what's the problem. So you just, find that bad ground and sand those connections. That's how you do it. I'll talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.